to the Mayor Joe Taylor Show. Jeff Underwood, Jerry White, Mayor Joe Taylor. What's up, guys?
It's like you get to hang out with your old buddy. Get to hang out with the one and only Mr. Mayor Joe Taylor. Welcome.
Yeah, what a thrill, right?
We get excited about
I
it.
bet you do.
We do.
We actually do.
Yeah, it's
Some shows we do, we're like,
Eh,
this one, we're
it's, fun.
happy.
It's always a fun time.
Sure it is. Especially before and after the show.
Yeah, we don't take ourselves too serious. Yeah, I get y'all caught up on all the tea before and after.
That's a fact.
Nothing really good going on, though.
I don't know.
I mean,
Hey, what's Rainbow City's thoughts on eminent domain?
Oh,
Oh.
wow. Oh, boy, jump into that. You're pulling your...
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. Welcome. I'm usually
I've
telling
got
you
an
guys to
opinion.
move it in.
I mean, I've got an opinion. I'll state my opinion. I think it's a dangerous place, for a city to put themselves in. I think that there should be some, and I don't know that there hadn't been, and we know what we're all talking about.
Sure.
Talking about the situation up in Gadsden.
Yeah.
I think you've got to do all of your due diligence before you get to the point of using those two words. They are dirty words, and I can understand that, having owned a lot of property over the years.
Sure.
And I would hate to know that somebody came in and took my. Now, are there times that when you need it? Absolutely. I mean, there are times when there is a higher and better good for that property. But boy, you've got to really tiptoe into that deal, and you need to be running with your hair on fire on the way out. It's just it's touchy. Is an understatement for sure. But I mean, it's happening. It's happening here and there. I think it's becoming more common because it's not that hard to get done. I don't think people really understand, and maybe this is a part of what you should do when you start looking at electing or re-electing people, to these positions. You've got to know, where they stand on those kind of things.
Sure.
There's a couple of things that I'm very strong on. That's one of them. Another is how we lay the city out as far as what type of businesses should come into your city. How your zoning requirements are.
Sure.
I think that you're setting the pace for generations that'll be removed from you, that you'll never know the people by name. Eventually I'll be gone from this office, and somebody else. Wait.
What?
Yeah, it can't last forever. But
You ruined my
and
day,
when I'm
Joe.
gone, we need to know that there's somebody that's going to come in behind us that's of like mind. And that is that I carry the history of the city along with the staff of the city, and I think that's one of the things that's so critical about maintaining longevity in your staff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they carry the history of the city. They know what's going to happen when you flip a light switch, and you can't know that going in. You spend so much time campaigning and working for the job to get the job, and then you have the job. Now what do I do? I think the biggest thing is to be able to lean on people that already have an understanding and history of the city under their belt, and you allow them to bring you alongside instead of going in and believing that you're going to run the show. You're not going to get to run the show. It doesn't work that way.
I'm finding that out. It's taken me 30 years to realize that.
Figure out you're
Yeah.
not running the show.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not our circus. I promise you that.
There's a lot of good things going on in Rainbow City. You guys are partnering, taking over. You're the mega site people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow City is. You got, what is it, a $5 million seed, and then you got a 3.5 the county did.
That's right.
Explain a little bit about that, because I know that's in the news real quick.
Yeah, it's right now it's starting to really begin to heat up, because there's what's going on in Washington is really beginning to bring our manufacturing back to the United States, which is what we should have had all along. And I can't really understand why we love to export our jobs, but that's way above my pay grade. But what we're finding out with the near mega site is that early on, within months of me going to the office, Craig Genzer and I, County Commissioner Craig Genzer and I, we got together and with Jim Turnbach and said, we've got to have a host city for this thing. Every mega site, whether it's Bay Minette with Novelis or Montgomery with Hyundai, you've got to have a host city, and that city provides your police and fire protection and your city services. including water and sewer utility. Well, we knew that we were going to be the water and sewer utility no matter what. Even when they were getting requests for information, we were going to be the utility. So we met and we kind of came up with this, what at the time seemed like a harebrained idea, only come to find out it could work and it should work, and it was the way to go. And it was the annexation of the near mega site, which is about 1,500 acres now, into Rainbow City, which kind of stretches our city a little bit, but it gives us an opportunity to grow and grow out on the other side of the interstate. A lot to be said about being on two sides of an interstate economically. It kind of creates, almost a toll booth or a stopping off point or resting area, whatever you want to call that. And in that area, you start having economic development. You can see it in Attala. Larry and them do a great job on both sides of their interstate there, and having them having two exits is pretty wild. A lot of cities don't get a chance to have two exits, and Gaston does the same thing. They've done really well with with what they've got there at the interstate. Those are economic development drivers, and they collect money that doesn't hurt your infrastructure very, very bad. There's a certain amount of detrimental harm that comes with any time you've got cars driving down the road, that you have the need for electricity and all those things. But what you're finding out is that they're minimizing that because they have transient people coming in, paying taxes, and then leaving and going back home. That's kind of what we're doing now with recreation. Parks and Recreation is another place where you can make money, have money deposited into your city through your small businesses and your franchise businesses by people coming to, for travel ball or travel soccer. All of those opportunities, they put heads in beds in hotels, which we don't have. So we're helping Gadsden and helping Attala, fill up their hotels, and then we're getting it at the gas pump, getting it at in the restaurants, selling sporting goods, those kind of things. So we know we have an advantage of economic development by just having really good parks and recreation. And right now with the refurb of our fields, I don't know if you guys have been able to see, Vivian Maddox Park is finished. We've got some little details, some cleaning up, some painting, a little remodeling on our concession stand, stuff like that. But as soon as we get that done, that place is going to look totally different. And the kids that we went out the other day, they were playing their first little mini season, their fall season. Yeah. And we love rec ball and we love travel ball.
Sure.
And our Parks and Recreation director, Philip Hollingsworth, he will never let go of rec ball. I believe that.
That's cool.
That's how I grew up playing ball, and that's the way most of us did.
That's
exactly
travel right.
ball. But what it does is it allows for us to have more children involved, and we're finding out that our kids are playing a little different. The coaches are saying they're so proud of their field. And I can't imagine. I mean, like when I walk out there, I think, I could hit one out of here. You always have that feeling of, I can remember playing in Banks Park.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you kind of get to
Jesse Dean Smith.
I was going to say that.
That's right.
I was going to bat left-handed to him.
You got the high
fence. Yeah, because you had the high fence. You get it over the big fence. Yeah. But, those are, we're trying to bring back some of that nostalgia, those fields when Vivian Maddox and actually Frank Ramsey was a city councilman here in Rainbow City. And Frank went to Ms. Maddox and said, look, we need this property. And he worked on her, and they talked and carried that story for a good little while. And finally he said, what would it take? And she said, if you can promise me the kids will be on that property and, playing ball and enjoying themselves, and that we can put that family kind of situation and keep that in play. And Frank made her that promise. We're planning, the field, one of the fields is already named after Frank, but some of those are namesake fields, and we're going to keep that in place and try to honor those guys and kind of pay homage to their hard work and dedication to this city and in recreation. And there's a good time coming. We're waiting to get all of our fields completed. We've got 2 more under construction right now, and then our track over by Rainbow Middle they'll start demolition on it in the next few weeks, and then probably right after the first of the year, we plan on getting everybody together, maybe in the spring, and kind of do a little ribbon cutting tour and go all over the city, cutting ribbons and saying, "Hey, this is yours. Enjoy it."
Okay. Have you read a couple of
Andrew
comments?
Ford, maybe you can see those as well up on the screen. It says, "Morning, boys. How big is the city of Rainbow City from an employee standpoint, from parks, rec, city admin, etc.? Not talking fire and police."
Well, total it's 110 employees. We have about 15 in Parks and Recreation. I think we have 10 or 11 in streets. It depends on which side you balance recycling on, whether you put them in. They're actually their own little small department. They fall under budgeting in Parks and Recreation, but they actually work side by side more with streets.
Oh, makes
So
sense.
it does. It's a little quirky that way, but what we're doing now is beginning to pull them out. Kenneth Payne is our parks and our recycling director, and so we're putting him under his own budget and allowing him to be able to get his work done. My staff is about 20 people. And then that leaves police and fire for the makeup of the rest, which is about 36 in one. I think about 36 in those two, and that makes up the rest of it. And then the council's not considered part of the employee program, and but you add those to it, it's about 110, 15 folks, something like that.
Sports company. Here is a great opportunity for Mayor to let everyone know as well that game day will begin work on the track tomorrow.
Oh wow, that's new to me.
Comes
Welcome
from
to-
Oh, okay.
From
That's
them, I
Philip.
guess.
Welcome to
Yeah.
the Joe Taylor Show.
Yeah. Welcome
We
from
broke
me
news.
to the Joe Taylor Show. Yeah, to the Rainbow City Show. No, that's great news. I knew it was going to be any day now. They knew they were going to mobilize and move off of our fields down here because the softball field is really close to getting turf, probably in the next few days, and I'm sure he can answer that too. But this is a good time right now. I'm telling you guys, we're changing the looks of this city for our kids, and I think that I had somebody the other day ask the question, why are are y'all doing this out of politics? Well, if you looked at the timing of this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with good, solid financial planning on the part of the city. That financial burden falls on me and my staff, and they do an incredible job seeing to that. Our treasurer, Beth Lee, the lady that is absolute money manager for us, is our payroll and accounts payable. Those two ladies, which is Cindy Posey in accounts payable, and Crystal Gazaway is my direct money person. And then I oversee all of our money. We don't have a finance director. I couldn't really afford one. I couldn't justify one early on. We're really, really close to needing that soon. And just because it's a big part of my time is, we just completed our budget cycle. We'll present a budget. It's a week or so. It'll be a week or so late. But we needed to see what our end year was going to look like so that I can know what. And I think this is the key to municipal government, and the fact that what Andrew was talking about is really, kind of leans to our retention of employees. I need to know how much I can give our employees moving forward, and I like to do that prior, just immediately after we put our budget together. We needed to see what that last 2 months was going to look like, and now I know, and we'll be announcing a really good pay increase for our people. And but I can say this, it's very rare that you work somewhere that the Maslow's theory of hierarchy works, and that is where people do work to see to the needs of their family, but they also work because they want to be appreciated.
No doubt.
And I think that's the thing that our employees, whether they say it, and they say it to me continuously, but I think they go out and become that ambassador for the city, and they love their city, and I don't want that to go away.
So I have one statement and one question. Andrew Ford, who's up? You guys are like, y'all can't go to Vegas at the same time. You're both money guys and both number guys. Y'all thrive on that. I just saw the scene from never mind. It was good. So You know what I'm talking about. That's so fun. So, we got a celebrity on, Miss Wheels. Are there plans for Rainbow City to have a high school?
The Rainbow City needs a high school, and I'll say it that way. It's that I've always said that my area of expertise is not education. I don't have a lot of it, so that kind of takes me out of that program. But we're a growing city. You'll hear people use the term aggressively growing city, and we're actually that. We know that I don't want to see us dismantle Southside High School. I would love to see us build a huge campus here in Rainbow City, and then maybe do a better job of how we distribute our students, at the middle school level, which would mean that we could take them. And look, this is not my business. I mean, I can tell you what I think, but I can't tell you what a superintendent's thinking or a board of education's thinking. I believe that we could do better with the buildings that we have now instead of building and adding on to those at a very, very high cost per square foot. We could build a really, really super nice high school, something like along those lines, and do that in Rainbow City. That way it's centralized. We know that it pulls students from other areas, and with NIL coming, you and I always have that counterpoint on NIL. I'm starting to come over to your position because I'm going to have to. Then I can claim that I was there all the way.
You were there. In spirit, you were there.
Does, yes.
Right.
But when NIL gets here, there's no way that you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to do it at the 2A, 3A, 4A level.
Yeah.
You've got to have that Mega 6, Mega 7 type school, and I just think that it's something that needs to be looked at. The people, we are the highest portion of the census at Southside High School. I mean, that says something.
Sure.
We're not incredibly larger in population than Southside, but we do have a different city makeup, a different economic level of economic diversity and finance diversity, and so it's time to be looked at, and it needs to be looked at hard.
Can't wait to announce a game at the Joe.
Yes, that would be awesome. Right?
It's a comment question here on our YouTube page. It says, what do you think is the reason that Rainbow City and the residents have such a strong sense of community?
It was here when I got here. I'd love to say, well, it's because of me, but it's not because of me. No, I think that they know where they came from. This was a little crossroads settlement. It started back in, I think, 1818 was when the wagon train came through here, and there was the massacre. And boy, it's one of the things we need to bring Betty Boyd on with us and let her tell you the history of Rainbow City. It's an incredible history that it's actually bone chilling to hear it, to find out how Rainbow City became the namesake for Gunnersville. It was a trapper that was here that was trying to set up traps on the Coosa River, and ended up, his name was Gunner, and took the lone survivor of a wagon train that came through here going out to settle somewhere, and the local Indians killed everybody in the wagon train except this one child, 5-year-old kid taken by Mr. Gunner. They moved up to trap in an area that's now called Gunnersville.
Wow.
So if you want to hear some really, really
I've
great
never heard
history,
that
it's unbelievable. We have the oldest cemetery, and that's where they believe that some of those people are buried now at Old Harmony. And so it's probably one of those shows that really could go on forever.
Yeah.
And but Betty's just a really, really involved person. But I guess getting back to why are we like this?
Yeah.
It's I believe that you're kind of forced to love this city. If you come here and move in, and you come in here and you're going to be a disruptive party to the way things go, it's just not going to work, and it's not, but it's not cliquish. You'll hear about cities that are cliquish,
Sure.
and that if you don't have the correct last name, you're not going to make it.
True.
I can say this, I lived here 3 years and ran for mayor, and I'm the mayor. It's obvious that it's not a cliquish community. This place is totally different. It has an open mind, which is rare to find in such a small town community. But it's Mayberry on steroids.
Oh. I like that.
Yeah,
I
it
like
really
that.
is.
Some may say Mayberry with Wi-Fi,
Except here at the church.
Easy.
But if you guys, y'all got change providers. I don't know what's going on.
I guess we're going to have to.
I mean, something's got to happen.
I guess
Well, Xfinity here. It's supposed to be. It's the most.
But
we did the side by side comparison.
But it is crazy though, because for a month or two, this thing is flawless, and then for a month or two,
It'll dip.
it's gone. But
Except on your show.
Except right now, we're flowing. He calls them.
Yeah.
There's a
Exactly.
code. There's an app. He goes, "I'm going to be at this coordinates."
I sat out in the car punching a code.
That's it.
Let's
exactly.
jack with Kapow to that.
Yeah.
No internet for y'all.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jamie Grant.
You're out.
Yeah.
That's what it is when we have different guests on. He shuts it
I
down.
turned it down. That's
Yeah.
right.
All right, let me ask you this. There are a lot of reports out there. I know you guys have been looking at it. Traffic is crazy in Rainbow City. School going time, school coming time, rush hour. Talk a little bit about the AI traffic stuff that you guys are looking at. And
Yeah, that'll go in 26. As a matter of fact, we just had a big snafu. And this is one thing that I have to do. I do have to take some deniability here. You know, I don't get to control traffic lights.
That's
you
right.
know.
Oh, I can't believe that. Not like
they
that.
should give it to me.
Right.
You know, they should give it to me, but they don't trust me with the traffic.
How dare they?
But we're a part of a statewide integrated traffic signaling system that will have an AI component. It begins to kind of learn. It runs off of some cameras and things like that. But what it does is it begins to sense traffic patterns in certain times of the day. We don't have that very well because you basically go out there and kind of guess at it.
Right.
And these traffic engineers, they're brilliant minds. There's no doubt about it, but they'll tell you they cannot read the mind of everyone that's at home deciding whether they're going to go to the laundromat or go to the mall or whatever.
Right.
And so it ends up being just a very, very hard situation to harness. They think that they've got this, I guess, wrangled in a way, and we'll be a part of that. That'll handle our intersection, the next intersection up. A part of a secondary project that we have that will start in probably in December, January timeframe is the relief a street or a road that we would use, which is Church Street, and that's going to allow some signaling on each end. And we know it as the Church Street is where Steel Station or Sutbridge Road comes across. It turns into Church Street and goes
Yeah.
forward.
Is that going to be called the East Gadsden Connector? Is
Highway
that part of that?
77.
Well,
I'm gonna tell you, y'all are full of them today. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We can talk about that later. But no, y'all are killing me. But Church Street project is going to allow for signaling at Highway 77, and of course we already have signaling there at 411. But what it's going to do is allow for people coming out of Southside, going to work either here in Rainbow City or Gadsden or wherever, headed north. They'll be able to make 2 right turns and eliminate themselves from our intersection. Now, they'll be able to do, to be able to make 2 signaled left turns going home, which, it's used now. And what we have is just a mass amount of illegal left turns there. And it's a dangerous situation without a signal. So we see that as being it's horrible to say, but the only way for you to deal with traffic is to find the traffic first. Mm-hmm. You can't go in and build 6 and 8 lane highways, through a city our size, and then say, okay, well they'll be here any minute now. You have to wait until people start stacking up, and when they do, they'll do all of these traffic studies. And what we found out is that just since I've been the mayor, our Rainbow Drive section there from about where Aldi is down to Highway 77 is, it was 17,000 cars a day. Now it's over 30,000 cars a day. That's the second and probably arguably the first busiest intersection in Etowah County. And that kind of growth for me is unexplainable. But we just know that we're just moving more people, and which is a great problem. But sometimes it's uncomfortable. I had some people say that they waited 22 minutes at the light the other day. Well, there was a malfunction in the signaling, and they said, well, we need to be out there directing traffic. It takes 4 police officers safely to direct traffic in that intersection.
I don't want to be one of those police officers.
And I'll be honest with you, we're not going to put any less out there.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to get one of them hurt.
Sure.
Then there is problems then. But what we did find out during that time is that we can do that. We will do that. But we also had 2 calls during that exact same period of time where our police have to go out. And I'm sorry if it's going to be you waiting. And boy, this is going to hurt some people's feelings. If you've got to wait for 5 or 10 more minutes over our police officers responding to calls where they are necessary and needed,
right.
Yeah.
Good luck with your wait. Watch a video. I don't know what to tell you today.
Don't watch a video.
Don't watch a video.
Don't watch a video if you're driving. But you're sitting still. If you're sitting still, listen to some music and enjoy it.
I don't need
Call a friend.
I don't need our police chief to be chiming in.
No, he'll start rolling up in here.
Dude, he's multifaceted. I saw he was a photographer yesterday.
That's right.
Who knew that?
That's it. Yeah.
I want to see him take a picture of his own golf swing.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Oh, well, that thing's getting better.
He carries a tripod around and
You
films
do.
this.
You
know
could.
that.
Where were we at? Calling a ball game, I guess, last week, a couple weeks ago, and it was roundabout after roundabout.
Yeah.
It worked out perfect,
It
though.
was Hayden.
It was Hayden,
Hayden,
up that
Alabama.
way.
They're called low conflict intersections, and
Yeah.
we're going to have one soon. As a matter of fact, Andrew would be interested in this on Lumley Road. The way we need to separate that, because his business and those guys are all down on one end. Choice Fab, Andrew's company ZA, and so we've got these places that we have these concentrations of industry, which is the way a city should be designed. But years ago, they would put everything in the center of the city. You can see it in the city of Gadsden.
You can. Yeah.
And then everybody builds around it. The villages are built around. Modern planning says that you put the industry on the outskirts and everybody lives in the communal part of the city, which is that's a great plan. And it'll probably blow up 100 years from now, and it won't be the best plan. Who knows? But what we found out is that because we're on Lumley Road and we're getting that road reclassified right now, and that road comes from a county road at Steel Station over to a state road at Highway 411.
Mm-hmm.
That crossover needs to be classified as an arterial road based on ALDOT standard. We're going through that process right now to get that redone so that we can 3-lane that road at a minimum. And what we would do is put a low conflict intersection, the turnstile, there close to the schools so that trucks can't come in front of our schools. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
So they'll come out of our commerce parks and our industrial areas, and they'll turn back and go out to Steel Station, out to the interstate, and go about their business. So that kind of long-term visionary planning, has to be in place before you ever start breaking ground on a rec center or the Challenger Learning Center. We knew that what we had to do with ALDOT, which goes back to what I said a few minutes ago about traffic and traffic patterns, it's not build it and they'll come. It's the reverse. You have to have them show up and then you build it. And in our case, we have to prove the point for ALDOT. I think it's the only way you can do it, or we would be squandering money on 8-lane highways everywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Our director is very, very, very reactive to what's coming from the cities that are growing. And, and because he sees that as the next big problem. And if you look at what's going on with Huntsville and Madison, and people say, they're pumping so much money into Baldwin County and Madison County. Well, there's a reason for it.
That's right.
If they don't do that, they're going to create a gridlock up there, and then they're going to start losing business. So we're not. I'm not saying in any way that we're that, but we're a microcosm of what's going on there.
Sure.
We're a smaller version of that ability to be able to move people and move them rapidly.
If you want to read that comment, Mr.
Robbie Grogan. I was born and raised in Rainbow City, married and moved to Southside. My dad, Forrest Smedley, sold the land to Rainbow City back when Sue Gladwell was mayor. That's where Rainbow Middle School is now located. How about that?
That's
cool.
cool.
That
That's
is
very cool. Yeah, if you look at some of the landowners in the past, that owned property that was willing to let the city take it over. I can say this about Sue Glidewell and Terry John Calhoun. They were both great. I didn't know much about Mr. Smith, but they were great stewards of the land that they were allowed to purchase. We're talking about eminent domain again. We never go in and look for a piece of property and say, well, let's just take that piece of property. What we do is we try to get with those landowners and justify the need. Anytime you can go and, all of the attorneys that talk about nuisance abatement, eminent domain, or just buying and purchasing property by municipality or by the state will always say, ask nicely, ask again. And and of course that may not work in your time frame,
Sure.
but it's going to have to work in mine. I'm not the guy that wants to go out and take people's property.
Well, it's kind of cool because you're seeing people comment
That's
here
right.
and
Yeah,
on
I think that's
YouTube
very correct.
talking about families that have donated or sold or given whatever, and that's the difference with a city like this.
Yeah, I think maybe that might answer some of the question that you asked.
Sure.
How did this community develop that way? I think it's people that love it enough to say I'll have less of it.
Yeah.
And what an incredible idea to know that people would minimize themselves and their assets to allow the city to thrive and grow. And that's where our growth is coming from now.
Hey, good morning, Ray Freeman. Hey, anonymous question here on YouTube, which I love. Are you going to name one of the concession stalls after yourself?
I think.
See, there goes the internet right there.
I think that's probably.
He just slowed it down.
Yeah.
Look at it. He just slowed it down. We're grainy. Everybody's jumping to YouTube.
Yeah, everybody's jumping to YouTube. No,
Great question, by the way.
it is a great question. No, I don't have any plans of my name being on anything much except the checks.
For Joe?
I signed some check. Now I like that idea. No, that's a great.
I mean, you
that's
drive
just
by
because it's got
on the back side of the home bleachers in fluorescent. The Joe.
That's awesome. I can't wait to broadcast that game, man.
It's gonna happen.
Well, that may be where y'all say, "Boy, he was a good one." And y'all pull a sheet off, an old fitted sheet off the side of the building.
We're gonna have it in construction paper. That's what it's gonna
I
be.
think that's the thing that you go around and start looking at things that are namesakes around here. This city's been very, very conservative. If you didn't put a lot into this city, you don't have your name on anything. And I think that's probably the commentary that I like the most. Is that's
really true.
Craig Enzer always says this about the mega site. He said, "I just want to ride by there one day and say I was a part of that." Doesn't have to have your name on it.
Look, Craig's different.
He is, man. I'm telling you, it's a pleasure working with him. He's just he is no doubt for his age. He's 46, 7, something
Is he
like that.
Is it?
Yeah,
Really?
looks like a kid.
I didn't realize
But he's the guy that quite honestly, he's just trying to win and see his area grow. And I've been in meetings where they've been very point blank in Montgomery and look at us and say, "Y'all getting along any better?"
Wow.
It's a fair question,
Sure
and there's a county commission and a mayor sitting in the same room saying, "Yes, we sure do. We get along fine." And I think that takes work. It takes people that have personality characteristics that are somewhat the same, even though they're different in every other walk of their life. You've got to get to the point where you can get along whether you like each other or not. And I can do that. I don't hate anybody. It takes too much effort.
That's a fact.
Another question on YouTube.
I'm building a small list, but it's just not taking yet.
You're gonna take that into retirement with you.
Sure, that's got to have something to do
Yeah,
with
they're just under advisement.
That's all.
What's your go-to order at the concession stand?
Oh, good.
At our concession stand, it's just straight up Diet Coke because I have a plan always. Anytime I go to the ball field, is to leave there and go eat. It's just the way I do it. Now this concession stand at Vivian Maddox has great popcorn.
Okay.
Great popcorn.
Okay.
Now they keep it fresh. You got so many people there all the time.
Okay.
They're rolling it over. I can't have that old popcorn's been laying there.
Not the stale.
No.
Like
And
you're
it
eating the Halloween
turns into
popcorn
rubber.
ball?
Yeah.
Popcorn
Turns
ball.
into rubber.
Those were pretty good back in the day, though.
Back when we
We
were
would
kids,
go trick or treating, and they would make them.
throwing them.
Yeah, or they'd have them in cellophane wrapper.
Yeah.
You'd always love to go to old maid so and so's house. And
I learned to throw a
man.
curveball with one of those.
I bet. I bet.
There you go. Throw it up. Yeah.
Oh.
Another question here. This is Mr. Grogan again. Robbie, was a 20 acres dad sold for $100,000, agreed on 4 years to pay. For also when Terry John was mayor, bought the property from the family next to the Rainbow City Rec Center also.
See that? I
That's
think
cool.
that's it.
I love that.
Look at
Love it.
what these people were willing to give.
Yeah.
Because if you look at that piece of property now, there's
Oh,
I can tell you what's worth.
Right.
It's crazy.
Of course you know.
A lot more than
It's
100,000.
insane.
A lot more than
Yeah.
$100,000.
And look what it's done. Look at what the legacy of his grandfather is,
Yeah.
and that in that thousands of children have been educated at Rainbow Middle School in a great education at that.
That's right.
You know, I stay very involved with our schools. You know, Allison Lee, our principal there, Jenny Riles over at John Jones, and then Rachel Neal over at Westbrook. You know,
Never heard of her.
those guys are educating our kids, and they're making a very bright future for us. You know, I'm not the guy that believes that we're faltering. You know, I think that we're different, and we don't know how to accept it. But those kids they're gonna learn to make this world theirs, and it's gonna be theirs whether we like it or not.
Yeah, that's right.
So another thing coming up is this Thursday night, you are going to be recognized as the mayor of Coosa Christian School.
Wow,
How
That's
awesome
pretty
is
cool.
that?
that's incredible. Now, I think that if you look at what and I can say this, I was a member of the Coosa Christian's educational committee or educational board, years and years ago when the school wasn't doing so well, and and that was a proud time. I went on the board with a good friend of mine, Chris Yoakum, and Chris and I, and along with Jackie Paul Justice and Mark Mills, Matt Mills, I'm sorry, his brother. We went on and had to try to create a different direction for Coosa Christian, and I believe that it worked. I think that's kind of what the direction they've held on to, being really financially responsible and educating the kids the way they want to do it. I was just some rando guy that went to church there, and they grabbed a hold of me and Yoakum. He had some kids there, so it was a time when we could go and give a little bit of time and hopefully change the school a little bit. But
Well, everybody's excited to have you back on campus, and
that'd be cool.
just to
That'd be
give you
cool.
the big shout out. Like when I messaged them, I said, "When it's senior night, so don't take that the wrong way, Joe."
That's right.
Don't come out there with
don't
your-
come
with
out
your
there
walker.
with my walker and my tennis balls. I laid the sod on that football field. Me and Craig Chappell volunteered our time,
Heck
and we
yeah.
laid that field
Well, you're a grass guy.
in a day and a half. Yeah, I can do that.
You know,
That's why
Field,
Philip
grass
Hollingsworth
field.
stays a little bit afraid.
someone's
of
got
it.
to fund that campaign.
Yeah, and that's why he was so high on going to
Well,
turf.
it is.
When Philip decided we could go to turf, it was because he thinks he takes me out of the equation. You better watch yourself.
You don't know, Mr. Man.
Yeah.
All right, so
That's right.
there's a lot of things that have happened in the last few weeks with law enforcement. October 4th, give us an update if you can about the officer injured in a pursuit. You don't have to give a whole lot about, but that was a big story.
It's one of our officers. I think that was one of the things, and I made some comments on Facebook. I'm going to always support our officers. It's amazing how many police officers commented back to me, privately, because y'all have to understand, police officers don't go in there and defend themselves.
That's right.
They can't. We've built a culture around law enforcement community that we don't allow for them to speak anymore, which is absolutely insane and asinine. And you're about to get my face red, so just get ready.
We'll take it
Yeah.
off. We'll take back his
You
shot
pull
off. So it's
back
not
when
just
you
you.
want to. No, that police chase started. It was a dangerous police chase. I heard people say, I almost got hit. I'm almost this, that, and the other. First off, let me help you to understand this. The guy that they were chasing, that's the problem.
That's right.
Now, it is their job as police officers to mitigate that problem. Now, we can argue technique, we can argue tactics, we can do all of that till Jesus comes. But I can tell you this, in Rainbow City, if you're a evildoer, a wrongdoer, we're going to deal with you.
Right.
If you're transplanting yourself from St. Clair County, we're going to deal with you when you get here. We didn't have time to spike strip him down by Canoe Creek, which was another great idea from somebody that was, doing their armchair quarterback program. We didn't get a chance to. The guy's running 100 miles an hour. But what we were able to do was find another place to do it. Yeah, I want y'all to understand. There's a picture on Facebook from someone that was a complainer, and it shows us opening up the intersection for this guy to go down the road so that we didn't have a problem with him where it was a populated area. Now, I'm sorry, but if you don't believe those are trained professionals
Yeah.
That's right.
that said, and let me tell you who that trained professional was. He was one of our youngest police officers and said, we need to block this intersection. And our senior guy said, great idea. They blocked the intersection, allow this guy to go through. And he ended up being apprehended in Attala. As he came through an area where they were going to spike strip, our officer threw the spike strip and he swerved to hit our officer. Now, it's a little unclear as to whether he did or not. If you look at his equipment that was scarred up and damaged, we know that he hit our officer.
Yeah.
Our officer can't tell you he did because he was knocked unconscious. Now, people say, well, he went home that afternoon. He wasn't hurt that bad. Let me ask you the last time you got hit by a 100 miles an hour car. I can tell you I got hit by one at about 40 miles an hour and it changed my life.
Yeah.
And, so I think what we have to begin to do is if we could be more about those guys are highly trained professionals. Let them be.
That's right.
It's not up for us to say that this would work out better this way or that way. And please, God, just don't base that on politics when you say it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about how you think that we could do better and you feel sorry for the criminal. I can tell you he had all the opportunity in the world not to steal that car.
That's right.
Sure.
And so don't steal the car.
And he could have
And I
pulled over.
promise you this,
Yeah.
he can pull over at
He got
any
lit
time.
up, he could pull
And
over.
our guys
That's right.
would have treated him,
Yeah.
and our girl, female, would have treated him with absolute respect and dignity.
That's right.
He chose not to. Well, by the time he gets there and they say, oh, they get all hopped up, let me explain something to you. There was a study done, and I happened to be one of the people when I was a firefighter, and they would check our blood pressure and our pulse before we'd go in a fire and when we'd come out. There's some of us that our blood pressure goes down because we actually thrive in that environment. That doesn't mean we're chomping at the bit to hurt someone or to get killed in a fire. That's not what I wanted. I never wanted to not go home. I don't have anything about me that's suicidal. I may be homicidal, but I'm not suicidal.
That's why you fit in with us, Paul.
That's right. But what we find out when we're dealing with these guys is we can't imagine what they see every day.
That's right.
You know, what people said when they said, oh, I'm almost got hit head on by this evildoer. Well, okay, I get it, but that happened to you one time in your lifetime. That's why it's such an impactful moment, an impactful incident.
Yeah.
These guys do it 10 times a day.
That's right.
10 times a day, they're called to a home where they knock on the door and you watch them step beside the door. All of these training techniques that they have because there's a good chance somebody on the other side of that door. Matter of fact, 50% of the time at least, they don't want them to be there.
Yeah.
So in that case, I don't know how they survive anyway.
When my son is a year and a half in Gadsden, he was part of that. He got over there and was involved in that. And I watch Life 360. He keeps his phone on him. And there's days as a parent of a law enforcement officer, you go back and look at the tracker and you go, dear God, and that's why I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning praying for my son that's on night shift.
Correct.
And it's not just about a stolen car. Law enforcement, when a person steals a car, there's usually always an underlying issue there. There's always something else. It's not just about the car being stolen. There's trafficking. There's drug trafficking, human trafficking. There is custody issues.
Normally, 70% of the time, they're going to create another crime.
Correct.
That is the reason they got the car. I mean, if
Right.
not, we would just go jump in my car and go rob a bank.
Yeah.
Stupidity.
Right.
But I can tell you this, they are shrewd and they are smart, and their intent is to go out and do wrong.
That's right.
They're going to do wrong the best they possibly can.
That's right.
And if we forget that, and you spoke about your son, if you watch your son now, the way he carries himself, it's different.
It is different.
He's a different person, and it's not that he's getting bad. He's actually getting good at his profession. And then he has to come home, take that stuff off, hang his gun up.
That's right.
Because he's the guy that gets up in the morning, goes to work, and straps on a gun for us.
Right.
So that we don't have to strap one on every day. And when you look at what our police officers and law enforcement do, they are over time building this resilience to so that they're not ill affected by that adrenaline. They learn to control that and their minds, and even if you look at their brain waves and there's the studies of law enforcement officers and firefighters and soldiers, what you find out is they become very laid into their element. They understand, okay, this is time for me to flip that switch, and that switch is not to be evil. That switch is to stop that.
Yep.
It's to stop the progression of the fire. It's to stop the progression of crime. And our guys do it very, very well. And if you have a comment on Facebook, and I'll just say it for the camera, if you have a comment on Facebook, just understand this. I'm going to protect and support our law enforcement, our police and fire, at every time that they are right. And when their training says that they're correct, I'm there. And you don't have to like it, because you have a way of getting rid of me. But I can promise you this: you don't have a way of getting rid of them.
Mm-hmm. And you should want to. And we'll keep going. But the reason I asked that, because that was blown up, and I'm so thankful that we have in this city, Rainbow City, a mayor that will address those things, that talks about them. Usually, you're going to find a mayor that skirts that and will sit down before the show and say, "Hey, don't ask me about this." You're the opposite. Hey, ask me about this, because I want to clear some things up. You didn't say that today, but I'm just thankful that you don't avoid it. And not only that, your law enforcement, your fire department, your paramedics, your rescue people, your ambulance folks, all of these people, just like with the missing juvenile from Rainbow City that we've had over the last couple of days, you don't just turn into, let's chase a criminal. Now you're trying to turn into social work, compassion ministry, helps, and these men and women are turned in now. We're going to help.
Right. And that's the thing, is there's two sides even to that, where, law enforcement is so nuanced, in that they've got to try to find this kid. And at the same time, they've got to try to manage this family. And I don't mean in pushing them around or anything like that. It's to be able to manage their grief and their worry. And so, there's constant engagement in that. And so our guys are working around the clock right now on this. And, we're trying to track phones and talk to people. And they've interviewed dozens of people to find out, where did you see him last? What was he doing? Where is he going? Who does he know? And, and it all matters until they solve that problem. And they're never satisfied until they do. And it's funny, my hall, I stay late at night and work. And, my hall is constantly, I can hear footsteps in my hall, and it's our detectives that are diligently at work.
Yeah.
And they want to solve this problem for this family and for that person, and whatever that person's reason for leaving, or whether they were abducted, any of those things, we know where he was the last time he was seen. And, and had that been in Rainbow City, I think it would have heightened our alert. What do we do now? What's going on? And until we get that why answered, we don't stop. Or they don't stop.
Well, isn't that something that we can say? We've lived in different communities.
Sure.
Right? We've lived here, and we've lived in different communities. And a lot of times people will say, this person doesn't look like me, they're not that important. Mm-hmm. That's not the case.
No, it's not.
Here in Rainbow City. They're a child of God, and you guys treat every person as such, and I'm so thankful for that. And to see you guys, your teams, the residents of Rainbow City jump on Instagram, social media. Even I think my kid brought it to me from one of those websites or whatever they are that said, "Hey, this kid's missing from Rainbow City." Everywhere, you're doing everything you can do, and I just think that is.
Well, it's refreshing finally that we've decided, okay, we're not going to alienate and demonize our law enforcement. Yeah. We're going to jump on this and help solve the problem with them. I think for a long time you got to the point where, and people would say, the standard saying, when I was growing up was, I don't want to get involved. Yeah. You better get involved. Yeah. If not, your city is going to turn into what their city is when they didn't get involved in. And I don't have any intent of ever being the guy that steps back away from a problem.
Correct. Not get involved in the city of Attala. When I grew up, you got beat 4 times before you got
Everybody
home.
That's
beats
right.
you.
That's right.
You pass
Well,
by
you know,
Bob's
it's
Tires, he's wearing your tail out.
Right.
Yeah,
Meemaws, Coach
don't talk about
Foster,
Rick's
everybody.
Rug.
That's
You
right.
get down there.
And then you were going to get a phone call from the mayor saying, "Hey, don't act like that again. Now,
Oh.
you made us do this."
I told you about
He showed up at my house. Thanks, buddy.
Uh-oh.
Mm.
There it is.
That was a long time ago, though.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that one.
Well, I told somebody the other day, I'll never forget that, I got in a car that was pretty fast, and I went through Albertville going to see a girl up in Gunnersville, and my intent was to get there on time. Traffic was killing me. I was probably running 100 miles an hour in this little car, and I come through Boaz, come through Albertville, and I noticed them back there. I kind of thought, well, they'll finally give up. And, and this was back in the day when a high-speed chase just kind of wasn't what it is now. And finally, a state trooper in a Javelin pulled me up.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
awesome.
he gets out, and he's as big as a national park. And he walks up, and I roll the window down. I know how to act now. This is another problem that we've got now. People don't know how to act when a police officer stops you.
Sure.
And look, I've never claimed to be the smartest guy in the world, but I was sitting in the car, knowing how to act. Got my lap belt on because there were no shoulder belts at the time. And he walks up and says, "Son, are you an idiot?" Well, the answer to that is yes, sir.
Without question.
And it's sir. And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Let me ask you one question." He said, "You see all these police cars?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." "Did you see them before?" I said, "A couple of them." Got to tell them the truth because they already know the answer to this. And he said, "What would you have done if you had a blowout at 100 miles an hour?" Immediately thinking, because at this time I'm thinking I'm a smart guy, and I went, "Well, I've got a spare tire." As he pulled me through the window. Now that is the perfect answer to that question. It wasn't the right answer.
Sure.
It just wasn't the right answer.
It was a
So
great Jerry White response.
Yes, but he snatches me out of that car, and it didn't go so well. I mean, I got to shine that car all the way around to the trunk, and it was just where he was dragging me down and saying, "Stop being an idiot." At the end result of that was the forgiveness of the law enforcement community to say, the guy's he's just not very smart. Well, I've used that several times.
They said, "Oh, see where he goes to school."
Yeah, admit this. Yeah, just admit your wrongdoing. Pull over on the side of the road, and you don't get snatched out of the car.
Heck of a good driver, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, did well. Until they got me.
So, hey,
I could overcome speed.
Camp, Chief of Police Camp Yancey jumps on. He said, regarding the suspect in the car chase, he had nearly as many criminal charges as his age, 27.
That's
He
right.
should have never been out of prison to steal a car.
That's right. And I think that's the other thing is we've allowed for our criminal justice system to become so soft. And, if we would deal with mental health as one and criminal justice as one, as the other, and separate those two instead of stop treating our mental patients and the ones that have a mental need. Stop treating them as criminals and stop treating the criminals as having problems. We can't always blame everything on the fact that we didn't have a mom and daddy.
Yeah.
Or I couldn't be sitting here. I didn't have those. I didn't have the grandparent to pull me up and take care of me. I didn't have those things.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to be the guy, if I can say that I ended up learning to do right and learning to say yes or no, sir, by gosh, the rest of them need to learn to do the same thing. Now, if they can't do that, then we have to shift them back over into that group of people that have some mental instability, and we need to deal with that. And I think that's what our legislature needs to be circling around right now. Let's stop talking about how we're going to, and look, I don't like taxes any more than anybody else, but if we'd stop trying to make a sexy tax, if we could stop making this sexy tax cut, so that we can garner votes, and if we would move forward with some real change in how we deal with our the mental incapacity of some of our citizens, we can change this place.
Yeah.
But we're too worried about getting rid of a $5 pistol permit, and all of those things are just insanity.
That's been waiting to come out for a minute.
Yeah, that one. I'm sorry.
That's good.
That needed
so, Chief Yancey said, he's all about second chances, but not 24 chances.
That's right.
I want you to speak for a second. And we've got a great comment here we want to talk about from Andy Hughes, if we can find it again. You made a comment, if it was yesterday's council meeting or I was watching the past, and I can't remember, about Judge Haney and your question with her and how she plans to, what makes this court different, right? Can you go into it?
Well, the funny thing is, when you come into office, you just come in and the people are there. It's like walking into a room, and you're the only person that's unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I took office, I went down and there's a funny little backstory. Elizabeth Haney's dad is an attorney. He was my ex-wife's divorce attorney. So I think
he's a good one.
Yeah. He did her okay. But the point of that whole story is that she had some apprehension as to whether I was going to be the guy that would go, hey, I know who you are, and so I went down to talk, not interview. I just wanted to have a conversation with our judge. I know that the judicial is we're set up the same as the national government, the U.S. government, in that we've got an executive, we've got a legislative, we've got a judicial, and that's all happening inside that small city hall. And I went down to meet with Elizabeth, and I walked in, and we went into a little room. It was just she and I, having a chance to just get to know each other. And she introduces herself. I introduce myself to her, and I asked one question. I said, what do you do, when someone comes in here and they're troubled, they're in bad shape? And she said, we find them help. Mm. Now that is the perfect answer from a judge, in that we'll get them. I don't need that judge that's going to go out there and just absolutely destroy somebody's life so that we can make another $200 worth of fines. Our judicial side at our city hall is very compassionate, very understanding, but very firm. And I think that's what the people need to learn when they come into our court system, is that our judge is going to be absolutely firm. I've seen her do things where I thought, wow, I don't want to get on that side of Elizabeth Haney. But at the same time, I've heard her lean forward and tell them, okay, I'm going to do this, and you're going to do this with me.
Yeah.
And, and when you have that kind of judicial person that's looking at the person standing there, not looking at the shadow that's standing in front of them, you can change. You can change our little corner of the world.
Heck yeah.
And she does a great job, and she'll be reappointed on November the 3rd.
That's fantastic.
On a Monday.
That's awesome. Andy Hughes, does the mayor know we're having the second annual Rainbow City Community Market Christmas Mall at the hall on December the 6th from 10 to 3, and potentially vendors can contact me at Andy Hughes or A Hughes at RBCAlabama.com.
Yes, I did know that.
Okay. He just
but that was his shameless plug. I knew this last night because Clark Hopper, our council member, asked his wife does like the stuff with the printers, the 3D printing stuff.
Cool.
And she's done some like Christmas stuff and that kind of thing. But she was asking about it, so she got to line her up a booth, Andy. Make sure that Christy has her booth ready to go. Yeah, make it just right. And
we need to come out. We need it next to the bathroom, up by the door.
Yeah,
or we can broadcast that live just by the door in the hot
chocolate.
It's a
fun time. Yeah, they're this mall at the hall. Is that what they're called?
Yeah,
mall at the hall. Andy does a really good job with our community market, but what he's trying to do is learn to expand, or he's found a way to expand our market into just something that brings our people together. It allows for our small vendors, to be able to sell their wares and meet people, and a lot of our vendors are seniors. They're retired people that found them another little grind on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Weiss's dad makes baskets, and we've got people. He can't hear you very well, but I promise you, he can make you a
basket. The basket's fantastic.
The basket's cold-blooded. Yeah. Y'all are cold.
Yeah. Well, I can't hear you. So.
Yeah.
But it's
he didn't hear us.
He's one of my people. But no, so we get to see that. We get to see that interaction of our young people with our older people. J.D. Holt's boys, they sell peaches, off of their farm,
which is awesome.
It is incredible, and they're setting up out there next to a 80-year-old man that's been selling vegetables his whole life, and that older gentleman is teaching them how to be better salesmen, and they're incredibly respectful. So shout out to those two guys. I go out and check on them, when they're at the market, when they're not in school, but they're good kids.
I try to talk to Andy every time I go, but he's too busy talking to everybody else.
Yeah, and he's got his signature floppy brown
He
on,
does.
and he walks around like he's in
Look
charge.
at
He's
this.
trying to
he
keep
is.
that cancer off his neck.
I went to get coffee right at Three Crows there. I'm getting some food for lunch from Jason at Breaking Bread. I'm gonna go get a coffee. Here comes the window thrower back is Andy Hughes.
Yep.
Taking my money and working
Yep,
to learn the
that's right.
cash register.
That's
what
awesome.
are you doing, man?
That's
He's
fun.
everywhere.
Yeah,
He's everywhere.
Andy's really grown that thing. It's incredible.
He's like, my wife won't let me sit under our tent.
Yeah.
Don't
blame her.
She's a smart lady.
And so, lastly for me, Mr. Mayor, first of all, it's awesome that we get to see the Halloween decorations out in your honor.
Mhm.
You know that it's pretty good.
Saw a
But-
kid on the way home from church Sunday standing up next
Yeah.
to the mayor's favorite pumpkin out
Yeah,
there.
that's right.
that's gotta be your cousin, man. I mean, you are close, but it's the birthday month of Joe Taylor,
It is, man. It's
and I
mojo.
love the fact that you direct people, hey, let's support this cause. And I thought it would be a shame if we didn't talk about the Berry Center.
Oh yeah, the Berry Center's, it's a unique,
Yeah.
and it's just such a cool place for it to be doing such a horrific job. And I mean in what they do,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
content of their service, But I don't know. I think this may be the 4th year that I did it, but when it gets around my birthday, there's one thing you can say about me, and Rachel will say this. I had somebody tell me this yesterday when they were trying to settle up with me on my birthday and give me something. The statement is always, "I'm the guy that you can't buy anything for." So why try? I just ask you to give $5 or $10 to the Berry Center, and and it goes in my name, but that doesn't mean anything. They just send them a check. That check doesn't have my name on it.
Yeah.
It's just an opportunity for me to be able to highlight that, what those ladies over there are doing and what they're doing for our children. We love to kind of maybe pry ourselves away from that problem and say that we're at a distance, but the truth is, if you look at the demographic of this area, we do have a lot of offenders that are offending and hurting kids.
Yeah.
And the Berry Center does all of those forensic interviews, and they find a way to not only break that investigation up and break it apart so that we can find the truth, but they find a way to put those children back together.
That's right.
That's the part that we have to support, and we have to do that by kind of putting our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, my little fundraiser goes, I think, till the 17th, or maybe I can extend it to the end of the month. But if you've got a few dollars, look, I'm not asking you to give me a lot. If I were taking it up, in front of the mall, the way we used to do for muscular dystrophy,
Sure.
fire boot, you could give me, 75 cents out of your ashtray or your console. Come find out they don't do ashtrays anymore. And lady squared me away on that on Facebook. But no ashtrays anymore. But if you could give us that, and even if you throw the button in there, and and I've had somebody give me, a roach off of a joint, and we'll get that out of there, and we'll take that money. But you can do this online. It's a very, very simple way to give.
That's awesome.
If you want to make a direct gift to the Berry Center, we would appreciate that as well. But it raises several $1,000s, and it kind of lets you know that you've got some friends out there you might not even know them.
That's exactly
And there are people that donate to that thing that I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of taking there's a good thing about social media.
Yeah.
I can take social media, use it in a positive way, and it changed lives.
What a great ministry that is.
It's really
It's
It is a
unbelievable.
ministry.
It is. It's unbelievable. And those women are, again, a group of the people that are hearing things and seeing things that they should not hear or see
Fact.
in a civilized world.
That's it.
We're not quite there, and we have to keep working. And they're the ones that are willing to do the dirty work for us.
If you want to know what progress looks like, just look at Rainbow City. You see the mega site, you see the utilities, the smart signals that are coming. The Aldi is opening. And listen, Aldi just don't come anywhere.
Wingstop.
No, they don't.
Wingstop.
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 That's
Dude,
your secret.
people are freaking out over
Yeah,
there.
they
I
are.
watched
It's
a
pretty
post the other day that you put out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and people are going crazy. When is it coming? It better come soon.
Best
all this
kept
kind of
secret that we've had. We've known about it for a long time. They just didn't want that information
Well,
out.
they put
And
the
then they put
sign
their
up.
sign
What are you
up.
gonna do
stuff.
about it?
Right.
Y'all just caused me so much
They knew what they were
trouble.
doing. They knew what they
And
were
that
doing.
New Aldi's is nice.
Oh yeah, it is. It is a super good brand. You know, it's one of those things that complements all of the things that are coming to our area. You
That's
know, I guess I have to say it both ways. You know, Joey and Dana both, you know, are having that Johnson's over there. I don't know which one. We know that Dana was the one that brought it there. Joey's going to be the one that's going to support them. And
It wasn't
if
Craig
you
Ford,
look
that's
at-
what I know.
if you look at Johnson's and Publix and you know, we have Wow Grocery, and then we also have, you know, Aldi. If you look at what we've got an international grocery store here at the intersection. If you look at what we have as far as, you know, ways for people to be able to take home and have that home cooked meal, man, we've got it all.
Got it made right
We've
here.
got it made right here. And so, you know, Southside and Rainbow City, you know, there was a whole thing, you know, about whether we can get along or whatever. I've talked to Joey Statham half a dozen times.
I'm sorry.
You know, we'll be having dinner in Huntsville. You know, where we're going for our league training to kind of train up and help their new folks that are getting started. You know, that don't have a leg up in government. Joey's got a lot of, you know, he's got a lot of experience in government. But you know, you've got two brand new ones in Shane Helm and Jennifer McGriff. They're going up. I've got a brand new one in Jerry Ramsey, and we're going up to kind of accompany and be with them while they're doing their initial training as municipal officers. And elected officials don't go in knowing how to do this.
Sure.
You know, we have to be taught how to do the work and stay inside the lines of ethical guidelines and legal guidelines. And so we're going to get a chance to go up there and put our two hopefully cohesive councils together and become, you know, a force, so that when we go to Montgomery and we go to DC, we're looking for those people to return our money back home, which is what they're supposed to do. We want to know that we can go up there and do that as a collective.
All right, so you can go to, if you want to know anything else about the city of Rainbow City, you can just go to their website. It's very simple.
Great site.
Just matter of fact, anything, just type in Rainbow City or City of Rainbow City. It's going to pop up. Be one of the very first things to see there. But everything going on here, quality of life is rocking. You can get anything. Recreation center is man,
Close.
It is going up quick.
It is close.
It is, anything you want to give an update on that?
Yeah,
real
I
quick?
mean, we're right now starting to put the last portions of the facade on, and then you know, some trim work will be done. They're working the interior, the floors. You know, the air conditioning's finishing up, the electrical's finishing up. Man, we're getting close. I mean, we like about 20%.
Wow.
And if you look at our pool's starting to look like one, and it's very exciting. Our little amphitheater stage is near completion, and they're starting to bring in the pieces for our splash pad, and our ADA approved and certified playground will go in right after that. And you know, and it's another thing that we have. You know, we're trying to do it all. There's certain things that I'm going to miss, and you know, when people will send me, you know, of course they love to do it on Facebook and blast it out there, and you know, they'll say all the things that we're doing wrong. You know, we look at things, you know, we try to look at safety first. We try to look at, you know, safety is a direct correlation or correlation to quality of life, and that is to take care of our people next. And then the last thing is, how do we develop programs that can put all those things together?
Yep.
And I think we're doing okay.
Doing all right.
Yep.
Mayor Joe Taylor, thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry White, thank you, man. Hey, by the way, can he wear swimmies in the new pool?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're good.
And
You're
we'll
gonna put your swimmies
probably
on?
get him some swimmies that have kapow on them.
Yes,
which would be
absolutely.
So
I wear the swimmies, but
Yeah. The Speedos.
I think that's outlawed. You can't do that.
no, I have the statute right here. I can go fully loaded.
Speaking of, thank you to all our sponsors. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you. Matter of fact, we'll see you in just a few minutes for the Alabama Etowah County High School football show coming up. Lots of action, a lot of things to talk about. Even one of our area teams already region champs
They are.
and qualified number 1 seed to a